Welcome back to the show. The collapse of the World Trade Center during the 9/11 attacks exposed first responders and nearby residents to high levels of dust and gases. A recent study published reported results of mutation in the blood cells after analyzing genes in blood samples from the responders. Now, joining us to tell more details is the Associate Director of Translational Science at the NCI-designated Albert Einstein Cancer Society and Professor of Medicine and Development and Molecular Biology at Einstein, Dr. Amit Verma. And that's a lot for one title, but he's got it all under control. Dr. Verma, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Darren. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and so you did a study that was pretty much dealing with 9/11, first responders, and the after effects. So give us a little bit more about what the study uncovered.
Yes, sure, happy to. So we have been collecting blood samples from first responders that participated in the World Trade Center cleanup. When the buildings came down, there were firefighters, brave firefighters, and EMS workers and police force workers who were at the cleanup, saving lives and, helping with the rescue efforts. And they were exposed to a lot of particulate matter and dust that came down when the buildings disintegrated. A lot of those dust particles contained harmful chemicals. So we have an ongoing collaboration with the Fire Department of New York, FDNY. Dr. David Prezant, the Chief Medical Officer of FDNY, is a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, who also is a faculty member at Montefiore here with me. We have collected blood samples from first responders and done these high-depth sequencing tests on them to look for mutations. For comparison, we looked at firefighters from Nashville, Tennessee, and from Washington, D.C. And when we compared these results, we found that the first responders at the World Trade Center site had mutations in their blood cells that were elevated when compared to other firefighters. So they were about 2 to 3 times more likely to have a mutation in their blood cells when compared to the control group of firefighters. So that was our main finding. This is a pilot study. We analyzed about 481 first responders and 250 odd control samples. And we are now starting to sequence about 1,000 to 2,000 more samples. And you asked about what are the implications. There's broad implications. These mutations can tell you whether a person is at a higher risk of developing blood cancers in the future. So we're trying to catch these blood cancers before they become full-blown. The best chance of curing cancer when you treat it at an early stage. So we want to catch early signs of blood cancer and intercept them before they become full-blown. There is another, sorry.
Oh, no. I'll let you jump on and continue in a second. But I wanted to ask that question because hearing that is, news. And so if there's a family member, if there's somebody out there that's connected to a first responder or a first responder themselves that were involved, what's the process? What should they be doing given the fact that you found these mutated blood cells?
That's a great question. So I think anybody who was exposed in the first few days, if you look at the data, the first 6 days at the site were the days when the most exposure was experienced by first responders and residents. This exposure caused so much inflammation in the body that we think that may be driving these mutations to come up in the blood. This is a simple blood test, actually. This is a blood test which is called as a DNA sequencing analysis. We do it all the time for patients with blood cancers. When you have a blood cancer, this test is paid off by the insurance, covered by insurance. So this test can tell you whether you have mutations in one of the genes that we examine with this test. And there is no risk, if you have a family member who was not exposed to the disaster, but was related to a first responder, there's no risk to the family member. But there is a certain risk to the to the person who was at the site. And that's our broad implication, that maybe after our pilots, study is noticed by the health authorities and by administrators, this will lead to the federal authorities covering this particular test for the broad first responder population.
Talk to me for a second about this. When we talk about understanding the possibility of having these mutated blood cells, first responders are out there. Some of them have not been tested. What is the process for them to go and get the testing to find out whether or not they actually have these mutated cells? Is it a simple process, something that can be done to their local doctor?
Yeah, it's a great question. Right now, it's being done as a research test. So if you're a first responder, part of the FDNY, the Dr. Prezant's team at FDNY can see you in their Brooklyn office. I think all first responders go there for an yearly checkup where you can get a tube of blood taken, and it can be sent to us and we can do the test easily. For the broader population, you can go to your local doctor and request it. They will probably have to talk to insurance to get it approved. So right now, that's the mechanism. But what we hope for, Daren, is that after we have actually published these studies, they came out a week ago, that the Federal World Trade Center program gives their approval to get this test covered. And then this can be done in any doctor's office. So that's the hope for the future.
Yeah. So I know that Einstein and Montefiore have done some testing and also done some research. Talk to us about what else you've done in connection with the World Trade Center and how that might be interesting to our viewers.
Yeah, thank you for that. We did a study, we published a study about 3 years ago showing that another blood cancer called myeloma can actually be detected. The early signs of myeloma can be detected in the blood from first responders, and the risk of this is 2 times more than what is expected in the general population. So now I'm happy to report that test is actually covered by the Federal World Trade Center authorities. Anybody can do it, anybody can get it done. We are also looking to see whether these blood mutations also increase your risk of heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, all of these inflammatory diseases. So what we can do, if we detect this, we are going to call you to the clinic. We're going to do a whole preventive checkup, look at the heart, look at the lungs, comprehensively look at the bone marrow, make sure you don't have early signs of cancer. And these are some of the plans that we have for these first responders who have a positive test. And you will see a few more, studies from our group at Montefiore and Einstein coming out with some of these themes in the near future.
When you look back at the study and the research, was there anything that really stuck out to you? I mean, we know the mutated blood cells. That's one. Were you astounded or taken aback by anything else that you were able to uncover?
Yeah, I think the extent was a little bit surprising. We did expect some mutations because the exposure was really bad, but seeing them at 2 to 3 times the rate of what you expect was a little bit higher than what we thought. And I think now we're going to test the broader population. We have another 1,500 samples we're testing right now. Let's see what the results are. We would of course hope that these rate of mutations come down. That would make me happy, but I think the rate, it's definitely there. The rate of these mutations in these first responders is concerning, and we have the ability to intervene at an early stage to prevent them from transforming into full-blown cancers.
Yeah. Have you heard anything from either the public or others in your field about the results of your research and what that's actually meant?
I think these results were very visible, and because of the broad implications, there are a lot of people living in Lower Manhattan that were exposed to this dust cloud. There are certain other exposures, Daren, like people exposed to smoke, inhalation, burn pits. I mean, firefighters in general. There are so many broad implications to this research. So we have heard a lot of feedback from people who want to do similar studies in different populations. And I think we have the opportunity to collaborate and help them do these studies.
Well, Dr. Verma, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Of course, we're going to follow this. And if you do have more information, please don't hesitate to come back and let us know. Very interesting finding about these mutated blood cells and those that were 9/11 first responders. Of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to those families. But thank you for the research and for your findings. As I'm sure that a lot of families and those who've been impacted will be greatly appreciative of the work that's being done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darren. And I want to thank all the first responders, these really brave individuals who basically, went in without caring about their health. And we have to do everything in our power to help them, navigate their health issues.
Yeah, Dr. Amit Verma, I say ditto to that, and hopefully they will actually get tested, and hopefully we can be able to catch some things and hopefully be able to save some lives the way that they were on the front lines for us. So thank you so much, Dr. Amit Verma, and we're pleased to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it.
All righty. Well, we want to let you know, if you want more information about this and other things, please visit the website einsteinmed.edu. And of course, you can get all the information that you need to know there. Listen, we do have more show. We don't want you to go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this.